Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, friends. It's happening. It's all happening at the zoo. Do, 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 do. Doodle, 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 doo. Oh, wait, no. I should put that up here. Let me go to the Discord. Mm-mm. Everyone live on Twitch and YouTube. Oh, fuck that up. Morning, everybody. Welcome to a rare live stream. Well, in a bygone era, we used to do this quite a bit, but then I had a child. I had a little baby. And so my mornings, which used to be free and easy and oh so full of possibilities, now became spoken for. But because I only did one episode on the free feed this week, I figured that we could take a portion of a live stream and put that up, and that way folks we get something, right? You know, it ain't gonna be what they want, but it is gonna be something. Morning from Costa Rica. You love to see it, man. You love to see it. Hello. Snowshoe, David, two Davids, Garvin and Knuckle. Repping Norway. You love to see it. Love to see Norway. From Central PA. Is that the red tea? Pennsyltucky? Is that what we're talking about? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. A lot on the docket. Although, to be totally honest with you, friends, you know I can't lie to you. I have not been my most plugged into politics this week. Week started off weird, Monday. That's what I get for waking up in Vegas. Then flip on out to San Francisco, well, Oakland technically, and then did the OpenAI podcast shoot Tuesday. That episode is coming out in about an hour and a half. Good one. Chief scientist for OpenAI, Jakub Pachotsky, and another member of technical staff, Simone Sidor. I'm just going to tell you, whatever you think of that podcast, that episode when it comes out, just know that what's above the shoulders on Jakub Pachotsky on the open market, based on what the going rates have been, $1 trillion. I'm telling you right now, if you're talking about free agency of the talent of that dude based on what old Zuck is paying, like we're talking big coin. Very smart dude, and I think very a good conversation. Anyway, so shot that. We had to turn it around in 48 hours. So that's the reason why I've been going back and forth to San Francisco so much, is especially in episodes where we have to turn things around really fast. It's easier for me to be in the room and then just give Will, our editor, the notes on what to edit, because that gets him so much closer to a first draft so much faster. So he's not watching it and making editorial decisions. Oh, are we mirrored? Let's see. Oh, mirror camera. How about this? 3, 2, 1. Now we're talking. You should stream once a month. I don't, guys, it has never been for lack of desire to stream that I have not streamed. It is 9,000% that I just need lots going on, dude. Lots going on. So anyway, shot that, flip back Tuesday night. But because we don't do great night Tuesday night, that means I got to catch up with all the shit that I would otherwise do Wednesday, and then supervise the edit for the OpenAI episode, then go do great night. Thursday, had a little bit more freedom, but we have to finalize everything. Anyway, long story short, I have not been particularly plugged into politics, aside from what I've needed to do for the shows. So I don't have my galaxy brain take, but anything that you guys would like to talk about, I am here to talk about, and I am excited to do so. I know. No excuses. No excuses. Your body makes a promise. When is the next Weird Things podcast? I'm assuming it's going to be today because Andrew is not on vacation and Brian and I are not at DEF CON. And that accounts for the reason that there has not been an episode in 3 weeks. Progressivism versus abundance Democrats. Who is going to win? All right. I have an interesting take on that, because I do think that in tug of war, there's like the ball in the center or the knot in the center that shows you who's winning. And then when that crosses the certain threshold, the one side wins. There is a ball in the center of the Democratic coalition. And if we are going to imagine that the new style of a Democratic candidacy in 2028 will be either more of a progressive candidate that's going to have bold progressive ideas versus a Clintonian quality of life, we need to clean out our own party kind of Democrat, then I would say the ball in the middle is Pete Buttigieg. All right. And I'd say that for a few reasons. Number one, Pete is more of the abundance kind of thing. So if he leans more progressive, then that means that he believes that's where the heat is. But also, he doesn't really, what deeply held belief does Pete Buttigieg have aside from being for gay marriage? Because he is indeed a gay married. And so I thought it was notable that he came out and said that he was more critical of Israel and made points about not selling Israel weapons. That is far more of a progressive stance than I would imagine Pete Buttigieg taking, which tells me that the McKinsey matrix that sits atop his shoulders believes that progressivism is more of the future than what he had been doing before, at least on this topic. I want to remind everybody that I was in the room in Des Moines, Iowa, when he was having his moment in the sun, when he was road testing stuff on the fact that the budget mattered and the deficit mattered, which Democrats have been more into lately, although I don't know if they still are. They were mostly into it when the big, beautiful bill was making its way through. Here's the problem with abundance as a mindset. I have not read the book. For the record, I have not read the book. I do very much enjoy the writing of Derek Thompson. The problem with abundance is that it's really only half an idea. The half of the idea is, oh my God, we Democrats have such brilliant plans. Why can't we complete them? The reason why that's half an idea is because it doesn't complete the other side of it, which is maybe our ideas are bad. So it's really a gigantic criticism of Democratic expectation setting and management of things that they believe that they have sold, they've gotten their voters excited about to sell. Glittering, beautiful cities filled with progressive, beautiful people that have abundant transportation, so such that they don't have to own a car, and high-speed rail, right? Those seem to be the things that, from osmosis, I've gathered, they talk the most about. And those things are very attractive to liberal voters. I don't know how much the book gets into it, but I got a few guesses as to why they can't ever complete anything. And that's because right now their entire power structure is designed to not. Their power structure is designed to sell voters on things that they have to cough up a lot of money for and then pay people, middlemen who are the power of the party, to do it safely, which means never do it. You know, I've used this analogy a bunch of times, but the Democratic Party right now is what happens when a wedding is solely planned, has an unlimited budget, and is solely planned by vendors. You know, it's going to be 3 locations, one on the beach, one in a castle, one in a Zeppelin. There's going to be 7 cakes, 12 limos, and the bride and groom are going to be in 2 separate locations, and the guests are going to be in another. So it's going to cost a lot. There's going to be a lot of pretty photos, but no one's going to get everything that they want, or really anything that they want. It's just going to be a gigantic, it is maximized so the vendors make money. That's what the Democratic Party is right now. You know, in our modern political world, or at least the world that I grew up in, we think a lot about the corrosive elements of money in politics being from the top down. Rich man McGirt says, "You now believe in thing." And then supplicant politician says, "Money, please." And as soon as his palm is greased, he does whatever the rich guy wants. And assuredly, there are elements of influence in our modern political world. I'm not denying that that exists. But what we very rarely think of is if everybody is making decisions to please a power structure that all draws a check from just a thing existing in a certain way, then you are boxing off your ability to do things boldly. And that's my thought, is that if you want to talk about why high-speed rail doesn't exist, then talk about why the people who have been running high-speed rail haven't been fired and shamed and embarrassed for the amount of money that's gone on there. The fact that you still have politicians talking about like, well, it's coming soon. The hell out of here. All right. Next topic. I need more topics. I want to rattle these off. I want to have a good time with you. I want to cover a bunch of stuff. And for those of you listening on the podcast, this isn't going to be a professional thing. So, look, listen to this on 2x speed. Israel. What do we know about Israel? So they are going to take operational control of Gaza. It's obviously an ugly situation. I don't blame anybody for using whatever word to describe it per se. War is hell, and Hamas began an asymmetrical war a couple years ago that, from the moment that it happened, I'm sure I'm on tape somewhere saying it, like this was going to be the most brutal thing you'd ever seen. Because the reason again, and before we get into anything that's happened recently, let me just lay this out. Prior to October 7th, Israel believes that specifically Yahya Sinwar was more of a forward-thinking leader of Hamas. And that while they were still going to, probably never relinquish power in Gaza, that he was somebody that at least on a base level could be worked with, which is why Israel was stepping up work licenses to work in Israel for Gazans, because they were like, well, look, either they're working in Israel or they're just going to learn how to make rockets out of tub pipe. So might as well bring them in here. They were humiliated, not only diplomatically, but also militarily. The root solution to all of that is that Hamas can never exist. Okay. So let's take that there and let's understand that within that rushing nesting doll is, what does it mean for Hamas never to exist? All right. Put that aside from now. Let's look at the Hamas side. They are a religious backed militia that believes the Jews should die. Right? That's what Hamas believes. They believe that dying for this cause is worthwhile. Now, I don't want to seem like I'm obfuscating from the stuff that's happening right now, but I do want to bring this back to it, because I do think that we're closer to the end of this than I do the beginning. And the ends to things are always foreshadowed in the beginning. In any story, right? The reason why you lose is part of the reason, what was apparent on some level when you started. The reason why this is going to continue to get brutal is because either of these two, in classic Middle East fashion, are going to budge. Hamas will die to the man for their cause, and Israel will not give up until Hamas is dismantled. Which means, without going door to door and shooting everybody that's on the list that Israel has of who's in Hamas, the question then becomes, okay, well, what does it mean to dismantle Hamas? And that's before we get into any of the hostages. What Hamas has counted on, and I don't blame them for counting on this, because it has been the rule of thumb in every conflict previous, is that eventually the world tells Israel to knock it off. And that has not happened. And specifically, the United States has not told them to knock it off. So we are where we are. From my perspective, I think they're going to take operational control of Gaza. They're going to risk the hostages dying, but their assumption is that the hostages would never be released because Hamas wants guarantees that they would still be able to run Gaza and that Israel would leave immediately. And Israel doesn't want that. They want some kind of Saudi peace force that runs Gaza afterward. At least that's my perspective. I know that there is a large contingent of people that believe that this is all a preconditioned plan for Israel to run all of the Palestinians out of Gaza and make it part of greater Israel. I understand that point of view. I don't share it myself, or at least I don't think that that is the most likely scenario. Although I admit, I don't know. I'm just a guy on the internet. The only qualification that I would have on this subject is that I've found it very, very interesting for 30 years. So, it's something that has been in my purview since my teens, just as a guy following it. And that I do know that there are elements of not only Israel, but also Netanyahu's coalition in the Knesset that do want to expand Israel to include Gaza and then also parts of other countries. I don't believe that they are the driving force here. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Canooch in the chat. Fatherhood has aged me. I haven't seen you since the last stream, and it feels like the time that Bob Barker went gray in between episodes. I am a little bit more gray these days. There's an ice checkpoint 5 blocks from me. Canooch, where are you? Where are you at? Are you in DC? Any predictions on the Trump Vladimir meetup? Okay, so let me do that, and then we can get into the DC stuff. Again, totally amateur opinion here. Do not take my opinion particularly seriously. Everybody has a PhD in believing who Donald Trump is and what his motivations are. And many of those people have minored in Putin studies as well. So there's a lot of opinions on this relationship. This is just my guess as somebody who has followed it. My guess. Sometimes I know a little bit of stuff. Now I know nothing. Okay. So my guess is that Donald Trump wants to sit down with Vladimir Putin because he wants to give him a final offer, a take it or leave it offer that if it is not followed, will prelude economic sanctions with enforcement that could hurt our allies and could materially affect Russia's economy. The red pill, blue pill offer that I believe Donald Trump is going to make to Vladimir Putin in person, and also with the full weight of, look, you made the American president go to Alaska, dude, to Alaska, is the blue pill. You take a little bit less than what you want. in Ukrainian land, but you're going to take more than what you had before. You are going to commit to rebuilding Ukraine, or we're going to take seized money and rebuild Ukraine with it, but you're not going to complain about that. And for that, not only are we going to remove sanctions, but I'm willing to normalize some relations with you. You can get plugged right back into the economy. Hold on, I just got to make sure that we have plumbers showing up. Oh no. I have my new phone, but I'm not signed into Ring. I just want to make sure that these are solicitors and not or plumbers. Okay. All right. Be right back, guys. Yeah. You're a little earlier than you were expecting. Oh, sorry. It's okay. No problem. Remind me where I'm going again. All right, we're coming here to the back. Yeah. Oh, all right. Here we go. Sorry about that. So, the blue pill. We will normalize relations. Not everything, but enough. Because your worry is that the moment that you stop fighting, your economy is going to collapse. We can prevent that. Or, here's the red pill. I think I mixed these up. Anyway, the other option is I wreck your economy. So, if you believe that you can survive me trying to wreck your economy, and the problem that every other American president has had is that when they say that they're going to do a thing, they don't really do it. I'll really do it. Take a look at everything else that's happened over the last 6 months. I really do things. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it's going to happen to you if you don't do it. Now, what will Putin do? Who knows? We have been trying to wreck their economy. The difference is that we have not been enforcing their biggest source of money, which is oil and natural gas sales. That India's been used as like a fencing state to get that to Europe. So Europe is still buying the stuff from Russia. They're just buying it through a proxy. If we go to India, which has already happened, and said, look, we're going to put sanctions on you if you keep doing this, that's us hurting our ally to punish Russia. And that's what people have not been willing to do this far. Yeah, I mean, look, Vladimir Putin has not gone wrong. Calling the bluff of the American president. Object in space says he'll say "niet" like he has for every other American offer. True. Stocks rallied this morning, right? It's worth the effort on expectations of a rate drop. Will T take credit for getting the rate lower if it does go lower, or will he fire if it doesn't? I don't think he's going to fire Jerome Powell. I do think that he will name his successor soon, probably in the next month or two. And that basically makes the successor the guy that businesses are going to listen to for guidance that's going to exist longer than 6 months out. And I think that will be what it is. Right now, you saw your first signs over the last 2 weeks of the tariff effects on the American business populace. You saw a bad jobs report and revision that led to the firing of the Bureau of Labor Statistics secretary. And then you saw the producer price index, the wholesaler price index, shoot up like 3 points. So that usually signals that the consumer price index is going to go up. The question then becomes, and the PPI is different than, I think it's going to have a different relationship between the PPI and the CPI for this, or it could, for this reason. What Trump is doing is saying, businesses, you are going to make less money. We're going to dare you to raise prices more than they have already been raised. So you are going to take a haircut on your profits. And you are going to pay that money to the federal government. Because there's a reason, okay? There's a reason why tariffs used to be a left-wing thing. In fact, it still kind of blows my mind that there's not some leftists who are like, you want to know what? Trump is a fascist and authoritarian. He's terrible. Abolish ICE. But those tariffs, I mean, he might be cooking on these tariffs, because these used to be a left-wing thing, because essentially what they are is a tax on business. So instead of raising the corporate tax rate, you're just saying, no, you're going to pay us. If you want to manufacture, if you want to get the cheapest price elsewhere, you're going to pay us a troll toll. Now, what Trump is hoping, what he is saying to business people is onshore anything that you can. And so he is that is what he is. He wants this to be behaviorally corrective. But I don't know. Canuch, to get back to that, does live in D.C. I've run across a few of the patrols in the street. I have thanked them for coming to help us find the Epstein files. Yeah, that's a wild scene. It's a wild scene to see National Guard people in the streets. Obviously, DC is not a regular city. If we have been fooled into believing that it is a regular city, then that is only by our own obfuscation. It is not a regular city. It structurally does not belong to a state. It is even the local designations are run federally or have to answer to federal authority. That doesn't mean that what is happening in the streets is normal or good or nice, but we do need to remind ourselves every once in a while that this is not Washington, D.C. is not like New York. It is not like Boston. It is not like Miami. It is not like Seattle. It is not like Portland. It is not like Des Moines. All of those are cities that have governors and mayors that run with a certain amount of sovereignty to the places that they are trying to govern. The DC mayor and the DC city council ultimately have to answer to federal authority. Where would Trump send the National Guard next? Now, I don't think Trump is going to send the National Guard into a place like Austin. Will Abbott send the Texas? Will he call for the Texas National Guard to patrol 6th Street? I don't know. I mean, everybody's going about this the wrong way because they are so Trump obsessed. It's not about what Trump will do. It is about what red state governors will do to blue cities within those red states. And there is I would say of those, you're looking at Miami. You're looking at Dallas, Houston, and Austin, and San Antonio in Texas. Where else would be big blue cities in red states? Stokes World, they'll do whatever Trump wants them to do. See, you're looking at it the wrong way. They will do whatever they see Trump doing because they want to look Trump-like. That's where you gotta connect. This is not all by fiat from the emperor, because spoiler alert, the emperor has ADD. He'll focus on another thing. He's doing 19,000 different things at once. The real work on stuff like that would happen. Oh, Cleveland, Cincinnati. I'll tell you what, I don't think DeWine would put the Ohio National Guard in Cincinnati. Governor Ramaswamy will. And we are only months away, my friends, from Governor Ramaswamy. San Antonio isn't real. It's a story Dallas tells to scare its kids. San Antonio is a great place. Niche topic. China-based companies like DJI are being driven out of business in the United States by having their applications ignored and legal shipments set aside indefinitely at port. Is that ignoring the new tariff? I don't know the details of the story that you're talking about. I do know that DJI has been identified as a company that is of high interest to the American government. They're a drone maker, for folks who don't know. I would say that what Ukraine did in Russia might be less economic and more national security. It would not shock me if there was a national security component to the DJI stuff. Would Nevada put the National Guard in Vegas? No. The Nevada would not put the National Guard in Vegas, mostly because there is vertical integration between the government and business in Vegas. They are all on the same side. It's one of the reasons why I'm kind of shocked that there's like a little bit of a homeless problem on the Strip, because in the past, the police there have not been shy about kicking people the hell out. Have I looked into the shifts in voting in Oregon? I think the House of Representatives could slip on a seat next round. A lot of red shift here. I have not. I will say, believe it when I see it. Not to say that it can happen in the way that blue Texas can happen. Believe it when I see it. For the record, the Texas representative still gone. Still not here. I still think it's dumb, for the record, because now they've fallen off the front page even. It's just, this is a Gavin Newsom story now. And Gavin Newsom needs them to cave for his thing to happen. But also, he's pot committed. He's already said that he's going to redraw the maps. Although some of the initial polling on that referendum, which would happen in November, it's a pretty short track. Not good. After taking over DC, is there any argument that we are not in a fascist state? Which state are we talking about? The District of Columbia? I mean, you can make the argument that the District of Columbia has always been on some level of authoritarian power because they don't have a governor. They are denied their representation. The United States? No. I mean, again, DC is not a real city. So the president has authority there, legal authority there, that he does not have in other states. If that happened in New York, for the example of crime, I think we would have more of an argument there. He's talked about other cities. I don't know if you caught the beginning of this. I've not been particularly plugged in over the last 7 days, so I am not up to date. For as much as I would ever care about every syllable that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth, I have not seen it. I've not seen as much of it this week as I would otherwise. That being said, I normally don't count for much of what he says. I pay more attention to what he does and the legal justification for what he is doing. Is that why my hair looks so good? No, I woke up like this. Yeah, Spin says in the chat here, DC is on a 20-year low crime record, and they're calling it crime filled is wild. I got questions about that line of conversation because crime statistics are something that, can be juked. There was a whole season of The Wire about it. But this is not, a odd thing. That being said, it's like if crime is falling, it's falling from where? And is the level that it's at right now going to be the new normal? Or do we have a sense that it is going lower? that there is rapid improvement that will continue. I don't know anybody in DC that would say that it's the safest it's ever been or that they feel particularly safe. Things since the pandemic have gotten better than where they were, but they're not great. Now, is it enough to call a crime emergency? That's where I think you get into more ground that I can hear. But the idea that the numbers are falling without giving specific numbers as to what it is and whether or not people in DC would rate the crime situation good, bad, or in the middle, that's more what I would care about. Now, what I do think is unquestionable in terms of the capriciousness of the administration is that this is almost entirely because of big balls. I don't believe that there would be federal agents roaming the streets of DC if not for the 19-year-old programmer that Elon brought to DC, whose old nickname was Big Balls, tried to defend against a carjacking and got his butt whipped. And I don't mean to bring light to it. That dude got his butt kicked. Blood on the pavement level beating by a couple kids. I think younger than him, actually. And he's young. He was like 19. It was like 14-year-olds that kicked his ass. So if not for that, would there be people on the streets? I don't believe so at all. Oh, there's been multiple congressmen who have gotten carjacked. I believe one of them was the Texas congressman who was actually under federal investigation. But yeah, there's been, there was an inflection point with crime in DC about 2 years ago when a lot of this was happening. As soon as if congressmen are getting carjacked, it's kind of like Tom Hanks getting COVID. It just means that it's sort of broken containment. But it's like, all right, so then would it have been okay to call a crime emergency if Joe Biden did it? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. The one thing I will say, retail politics wise, and to go back to abundance, what is the root question of that book? The root question of the book is, for liberal voters, you have voted for this person. Do you get the thing that they promised? And the answer, too often, according to that book, is no, you don't. Liberals don't get what they want. They vote for what they want, they pay for what they want, but they don't get what they want. They don't get the things. What Donald Trump is doing, while bordering on fascism to many, is giving his people what they want. His voters believe that law and order is a major issue. His voters thought Donald Trump was weak, that he couldn't stop the riots in 2020. His voters believe that the life in these cities is been too coddling of crime for reasons that go beyond whether or not crime needs to be both punished and prosecuted. And so Donald Trump is doing the thing. He is reactive to his audience. And so whenever we do the like, okay, well, Donald Trump is an emperor and he's doing this for himself, he may very well be. But his base adores him because he does the thing. They like an active president. And this, well, too active for some, but it is worth noting that in the political calculus as we move forward. Yeah, the Vikings have a male cheerleader. And not that, all right. So at first I saw the headline, the Vikings have a male cheerleader. And I didn't see the picture of the dude. And so I thought when I just saw a male cheerleader, I'm like, well, probably overdue. Probably overdue because like colleges have male cheerleaders. They're big, kind of athletic dudes that throw the small cheerleader ladies up in the air and they do spins and twists and there's a whole different kind of like acrobatic element to it. But you can get these chicks higher up in the air if there's a big dude throwing them or two big dudes throwing them as opposed to like 5 girls that are around the same size. And then I saw the picture. And if you have not seen the picture of the male cheerleader for the Minnesota Vikings, NFL cheerleaders are more kind of like dancer. It's more dancer than it is what you would see when you turn on ESPN and you see the cheer championships where they're doing a lot of the like pyramids and throwing and stuff like that. It's more just, you don't have a lot of time in an NFL game apparently. So you're just doing, like do pom poms, and so this dude is more in that line. And I flashed back to a conversation that I had with a friend of mine. I think it was Matt Donnelly, where I was like, Minnesota, kind of the Berkeley of the Midwest. Like Minneapolis, St. Paul is like very liberal, very, very liberal and progressive. I spent a little time in St. Paul a few years ago. I met some of the politicians, extremely liberal. So in that vein, I was like, makes sense. I don't know how many of the dudes that are grilling brats, the skull dudes, are going to be thrilled about it. But for the city of Minneapolis, it makes sense. Oh, it makes sense. Thoughts on the likelihood of Congress or judicial clawing back executive power in our lifetime? I think we're closer to it now, if it's going to happen. The question is, can you run a congressional campaign saying, I want to claw back power? All right. If people win doing it, then you are now in the game. You still don't have any kind of shot at doing it, but you're at least in the game. If there's enough, if the winning happens more and more, then now you have critical mass and now you can get close to doing it. But it has to become nationally bipartisan popular to actually do it. And even then you have to fight entrenched headwinds like the president. Are you done? Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. Do you need anything from me?
I can send you an invoice link. I just didn't know if you wanted to. She mentioned that you wanted to review the water heater quotes. I didn't know if you had time to do that now, or you want us to.
No, just send. Yeah.
Okay,
just
sounds good. It's great to meet you.
Thank you very much.
What kind of podcast are you doing?
A politics one.
Is it?
It's more in the middle, but yeah, you can just look it up. Politics.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Thanks, man. Dude might be the biggest stealth alpha of all time, hanging out with all the female cheerleaders, letting them cry on his shoulder, giving them massages and comforting them. I don't get the sense, look, I'm gonna do a little stereotyping. I don't get the sense looking at the man and his very high cheekbones that that's necessarily where he's at, but quite possibly, you never know. Yeah, we're doing it live. Making friends with my plumber. The plumber was in and out in like 18 minutes. Replaced 3 P traps. Any shot of the gerrymandering stuff actually resulting in an actual push toward regulation? No. We're not gonna, that's not gonna happen. Spin Dash, what about the Sohon race? There we go. Now, do you want something to make my progressives happy? Zohran is not just going to win. He is going to end the careers of Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams. He is going to command the Democratic Party to look at what will be the loudest, most concise, and efficient progressive victory that I'm going to have to go back and actually put a qualifier on this, but let's just do the hottest take first in my lifetime. What Zohran has done is remarkable and should be studied from what I love the most, the X's and O's of a campaign. Just, there's not a lot of moves that he's made that I think have been bad. He got caught up, right before the primary on some of the globalized, the intifada stuff, pivoted right through it, which is something that I always judge the most. Every campaign makes mistakes. Every campaign has things thrown out in front of them that they have to dodge. The question is, can you pivot through it? Flawless. He knew he had a big, ugly thing coming up, that he was going to leave New York, go to Uganda, be in this private compound where he was going to get married. Pre-called it out, dared the New York Post, tried to guess the New York Post headline on it. And so by the time that it happened, it was just like, whatever. He's run an amazing campaign, a truly remarkable campaign. And he might be the reason why the Republicans keep the House, even beyond the gerrymandering. He might be the reason that Republicans keep the House, because the Republicans are going to run against Sohran. They are going to say the new Democratic Party, and they're going to show Zohran with Elizabeth Warren, with AOC. The new Democratic Party is communist. It's not socialist. It's communist. And your representative is going along with it. And so there's going to be this gigantic rending of garments within the Democratic Party on whether or not, where are you on the Zohran question? Especially everybody who are in swing districts around New York City. And the Democrats are going to have to make a choice. Do you double down on a progressive candidate who wins, as the progressives would say, blue no matter who, right? Blue no matter who. Oh, whenever you guys give us a crap sandwich that we're not gonna eat, oh, we better fall in line. Blue no matter who. Or are they going to try to pivot to the center because they're running more center lane races and that's where they need to go? Going to be interesting. I would not like to be in that situation if I were a Democrat running. Sohon as a candidate in 2028. I don't think he can run, right? He wasn't born in America. Object in space. I don't think that they need to choose. It's a big party in a big country. They can run progressives where they're popular, run moderates in moderate states. Object in space. Are we watching the same Democratic Party? Like, they have not been able to do that recently. Because otherwise, Colin Allred would be out here with a gigantic AR-15 running in Texas. John Ossoff wouldn't have had to vote against the transgender sports thing. We do not live in that Democratic Party. That Democratic Party is homogenous. Starry-eyed Farm Girl, what's up with the Hunter Melania thing? Now, this I have no idea about. I have heard Hunter Melania chatter, but that, because I have been semi unplugged this week, I have no idea about. My first business trip since 2019 is next week. I'll be visiting the economic statistics nerds in the federal office near the White House. You think I should avoid talking about Trump and politics? No, famous. I think you should. Well, you're going to. I want to know how wide the happy hours are in DC. That's my metric. DC is a depressed town right now. Everybody I talk to in DC, nobody is happy. Their friends have gotten fired. The feds are on the streets. It's a liberal town and they hate the president, this president more than any other president. It is a depressed town in general. Thoughts on JD as the chosen one so far, asks Merrill Barr. He's not coming off strong in the administration. It doesn't seem like somebody who could win the 28 primary. He seems like a lame duck. I disagree. I think he's been a very active vice president. I mean, if you judge JD Vance compared to other vice presidents, he's been extraordinarily forward. I mean, he told Zelensky to shut up, and then Zelensky kind of shut up. Since when does a vice president ever get put in that position, let alone have it happen? Obviously, he's going to have to create his own profile, and that'll probably happen, begin to happen after the midterms. That is apart from Trump, depending on where the people's opinion are on that. But no, I think far and away, he's the guy. Famous. Where should I go to observe happy hour? Well, my favorite place is the Tune In. That is a Capitol Hill bar. Yeah, it's a magical place. If you care about the detritus of DC, it's just, I think I just might take vacation and just Show up when they open, leave when they leave. Drink throughout. Yeah, I think MAGA loves JD. He's more indie friendly. I did have an idea of what his signature legislation could be. It's very much in the same vein of the Trump world MAGA thing, which if you have not picked up on, the Trump MAGA thing is whatever Democrats were talking about 20 years ago, that those are the problems we're going to solve, but we're going to do it in Republican ways and not Democratic ways. So the Democratic way of everything is we're going to create a new government program. The Republican way is usually some version of we're going to pay companies to do it or incentivize companies to do it. So used to be that Democrats cared about, peace. And then through the Ukraine stuff, they're like, no, we want more war. Okay. So then Trump's like, I'm going to be the peace candidate. This is what I would do. It would never have happened, yada, yada, yada. That's how he runs. The big thing that obviously is still a major problem, and Trump hasn't ever really gone after it, so it is ripe for JD to make it his own: healthcare. So the Democratic solution has always been create more government programs, or if you're Obama, just literally do a giveaway to the insurance companies to make the entire process worse without getting anything back from the insurance companies. If I were JD, if I were advising JD, I would say you are going to make insurance companies compete across state lines. No more regional markets. Yes, it is going to drive some regional insurance providers. It's going to be challenging for them. They're going to have to face bigger insurance providers, but you are not going to have the same kind of regional issues that you have now, which create protectionist markets, which drive up the cost of healthcare for everybody. You are going to have national competition that will drive down prices. That's what I would do. It'd be a hard push to tackle for the Republicans because of lobbies. But look, this is the thing. This is the MAGA brand, right? It's the reason why Epstein hurt him. Because it was a big issue where people were like, wait a minute, are you controlled by somebody? But otherwise, for all the talk about how much Elon paid Trump and that Elon was the real president, he doesn't seem like the president now, does he? As he's getting dunked on by Sam Altman on his own website. Don't Republicans love protectionist markets? They do. They do. If it is American manufacturing, they want to protect American manufacturing. Boy, you would see so much insurance money go into the Democratic candidate. Oh my God, would you see? You would see the Democratic candidate just be like, we're going to protect your insurance. JD wants to wreck it. All right, finally, I'll talk about it. I'm going to assume that there was a storyline with The Rock and Travis Scott Travis Scott apparently got involved because of a connection to Ari Emanuel, who runs the TKO group. Travis Scott is not a reliable person. He is barely a reliable rapper. He's certainly not reliable to do something that involves people risking their lives in the middle of the ring. And so they turned John Cena heel to be a part of that. They wanted something like NWO big. It doesn't happen. He doesn't obviously feel comfortable doing it. And now clock is ticking on him to do matches where everybody's able to cheer him. And so they abandoned it. I think it's probably for the best. Look, everybody got to look at what it would look like if John Cena was a bad heel. And now he's going to have like 5 more matches. It's going to be fine. There you go. That's all the wrestling talk we're doing. Get your Epstein questions in, and I'll answer whatever your Epstein questions are. I don't know if anybody has Epstein questions. Like, what are we still talking about with the Epstein? Like honestly, will Jelaine get a pardon? That's pretty much it. Now that the 2024 campaign books are over, can we get a 1968, 2024 Raise the Dead? I need to. I do need to. I got to finish this audiobook for Michael Cohen first, and then I don't know. I already got too much. I got too much on my plate. Thank you for covering the right-wing wrestling company. You mean the one owned by one of the biggest Democratic donors? Ari Emanuel? Rahm Emanuel's brother? Am I on the Epstein list? No. I have known a few people who have met him, but that's because he was a gigantic socialite, especially in the world of science. Did Epstein kill himself? I mean, I don't know. I've long joked from the moment that it happened that he did not. But as we find out, the reality of our world is oftentimes far less exciting than we want it to be. Do we have tariffs on Little St. James? No. Or the Zorro Ranch? How much longer do you think that you'll have to suffer through this Tomlin drought? You mean having an A-tier coach that hasn't had a losing season and keeps us competitive even when we have the worst quarterbacks in the league? I'll take it. I'll take this. If this is bad, I'll take this. What do you know about Heaton's connections to Epstein? I don't know why that's a joke that he continues to run with. I'm just going to say this. Michael Tracy is doing very important work with this Epstein stuff because everybody just yada, yada, yadas this story. And a lot of this stuff does not connect. And when you are looking at tales as fanciful as the Epstein stuff can spin into that may or may not be Mossad honeypots, they might be eyes wide shut pedophilic sex rings of elites. You know, I think it's interesting. If Trump manages to shake the Epstein story with minimal impact, is there anything that can stick to Teflon Don, or is he invulnerable? Look, there's the tweet, right? Like, I'd like to see old Donnie Trump wriggle out of this. Trump wriggles out of it easily. Nevertheless. Yeah. I mean, the 6 degrees of Epstein, like, no BS. If you're just looking for people that have had a known connection to him, makes sense. Oh, I have an idea of what the what the Bannon stuff is with Epstein. Because remember, there's like 16 hours of interviews with Bannon and Epstein. And Bannon has never released it. My assumption is that this was in the period when Bannon had just gotten fired. And there's a lot of stuff of Epstein talking crap about Trump and Bannon nodding along and prodding him. Yeah, the walls are closing in. I mean, even now, with everything that's happening now, the 2017, 18 resistance stuff just seems like a fever dream. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. I got to get back to other stuff, but I did want to do a little stream for you, so we have a little bit for the people. It's on the YouTube. People can watch it. We'll put out a version of it on the podcast. But until next time, it's your old pal Justin Robert Young saying, see you later.